Okay, we're back. This is Wayne Madsen from Washington, and we're back to your phone calls, and I think, have Irving still on the line. Irving, are you with us?
I am still with you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I was talking about Robin Cook. Robin Cook, the Foreign Secretary of the UK, wrote an article in The Guardian stating that Al-Qaeda was nothing more than a CIA database of all the mujahideen, the so-called Arab Afghans that fought the Soviets in Afghanistan during that war.
Let me ask you, is Osama bin Laden, when we see the videos of him, is this just a creation of Hollywood then?
Well, Osama bin Laden is probably dead. So right, all the videos and audio.
Let's presume that he's dead, all right, for the sake of argument. When he was alive, when we saw these videos of him, was that just sort of a Hollywood cartoon character, or he didn't really exist?
Well, there were some videos of bin Laden showing a very obese bin Laden. It looked nothing like the stock footage we saw from 1996 with bin Laden coming out of a cave in Afghanistan holding a satellite telephone in his hand. There's no such thing as Osama bin Laden. There's no such thing. Oh, there is a bin Laden. There was a bin Laden. Absolutely, there was a bin Laden. There was a bin Laden who fought with our forces, our CIA forces, the Mujahideen forces in Afghanistan against the Soviets. There is a bin Laden who was basically seen in the United States several times. In San Diego, he was known as Tim Osman when he was working for the agency. Yes, definitely.
Oh, my God. And I bet you Elvis Presley, I bet you saw him at the Burger King, too, right? You are so ignorant, sir.
You can put out all the talking points you get from the Fox Newses and the corporate media entities, but there's been a lot of research done by people who know a lot about the history of the Mujahideen and these various groups, some of which came out of Egypt. I would also note that Omar Suleiman actually conducted the census in Afghanistan and Pakistan in 1993, from which the CIA was able to compile that database that Robin Cook later referred to in the Guardian article.
Yeah, and so there is no such thing as Al-Qaeda, and there's no such thing as radical Islam, which poses a threat to the United States.
There obviously are radical Islamist people around the world, just like there's radical Christians on this planet, just like there's radical Jews on this planet, but we never hear about them. We're always focusing on Muslims, and they've been demonized by Hollywood and by the Wall Street Journal and by the Fox Newses of the world. And I think what's happening in Egypt and Tunisia is showing the world that the Arabs and the Muslims they can take care of their own problems without having dictators installed on them by Tel Aviv and Washington.
I'm really sick and tired of you and the entire media now is all trying to tell everyone that we should support these movements, in Egypt, and we should all get behind the Islamists. I'm really sick and tired of it.
We're not getting behind the Islamic people. We're getting behind. You realize that 10% of Egypt is Coptic Christian, and they were also part of this revolution?
Do you realize, sir, that Muslims are killing Christians all around the world, in Asia?
I would note that the U.S. Army, which is predominantly Christian, is also killing a lot of Muslims around the world. And I would note that the Israel Defense Force has killed an awful lot of Arabs in Lebanon and in Palestine, and sending hit teams to Dubai to kill somebody in a hotel room. So it works both ways, sir.
Yes, it does work both ways. And what you need to do is to quit when you say listen to me, here's where you are such an ignoramus and where you reveal it for everyone to hear. When you say that Al-Qaeda is a fictitious entity, this is where you show how ignorant you are. Anyone who has studied knows that there is a tremendous threat from radical Islam to Christianity, to Judaism, and to America. And for you to sit here in front of people and deny it, and to claim that Al-Qaeda is a fictitious entity that was created by the Jewish media, this is where you reveal yourself to be a liar.
I said it was an entity created by the CIA. If you want to say that the CIA is the Jewish media, go ahead. But I think I know that I hope you're getting paid for what you do, because I do know that there's a group called Give Israel Your United Support and the Megaphone, which does what's called seminar calls into various radio shows. They post things on blogs because they're pushing your agenda. And your agenda, by the way, your agenda is taking a big hit right now because people are waking up. They're not going to be looking at this divide and conquer clash of civilizations any longer. The game is over. The game is over, and what is happening across the North African and Middle East, and soon throughout Africa and in Pakistan and elsewhere, is going to show that that entire construct of the clash of civilizations and this divide and conquer mechanism is not working any longer. But thanks for your call. I want to go to this clip now. This is a clip about what's happening in some other countries. The next dictators in this stack of dominoes that's getting ready to fall. If we can play this clip here.
In Algeria, demonstrators trying to force their way through a police cordon meant to stop them gathering for a protest. Thousands of officers are on the streets of Algiers to prevent the spread of any Egypt-style unrest. The government of President Abdelaziz Bouteflika said it had banned the rally for public order reasons and not to stifle dissent. There are reports of clashes between police and demonstrators, and a number of people were arrested when they arrived for the protest. Recent events in Tunisia and Egypt have led many to ask which country could be next.
Okay, let's go to the. That's what's happening in Algeria. That's probably going to be one of the next dictatorships to fall. I also want to play this quick clip here about what's happening today in Yemen.
Police tried to separate pro- and anti-government demonstrators in the Yemeni capital Sana'a on Saturday. A crowd of about 2,000 protesters collided with a counter-demonstration of supporters of President Ali Abdullah Saleh, which swept aside the police and chased the protesters down Sanaa's main streets, dispersing them. The pro-government crowd was armed with clubs and knives, and the clash followed an incident last night when a demonstration was broken up by gunmen. In that case, the security forces stood by. Earlier on Saturday, the anti-government protest occupied the capital and looked to be in the ascendancy. It took its original strength from about 300 students who gathered at the university before moving off and gathering support from other people.
Okay, the last three clips, the first one on reaction in Jordan and other places was from Al Jazeera, the last two from Euronews. Let's go back to the phones. Helen is calling from Virginia. Helen, are you on the line?
How are you tonight?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Fine.
Good. I am calling because I want to address Irving and give you support, because I am one that is awakened, and I want Irving to understand, if I may, that what has occurred in Egypt is called freedom, and anybody who chooses to fearmonger and scare the hell out of the American people with articles about the Muslim Brotherhood or whomever is just on the wrong side. And freedom is something our founding fathers fought tooth and nail and gave life for. And these people in Egypt did the same exact thing, and I am appalled by any American that refuses to allow a people to be free. It's just...
Oh, absolutely. And I would point out that the first two countries that recognized the free and independent United States were Arab countries. Morocco and Oman were the first to recognize the independence of this country. So these people who try to demonize Arabs, and we've seen it. How many movies that had come out of Hollywood. Everybody wanted to said, "Oh, you're pushing, Al Qaeda is a product of Jews." He said it. He said Jews that run Hollywood. So at least he was honest about that. Helen Thomas said that, and of course she paid a tremendous price for telling the truth. But isn't it nice? We never see movies about the Irgun, the Jewish terrorist organization that blew up the King David Hotel in Jerusalem in 1946, killing British police, servicemen, Palestinians, and Jews alike. All died in that bombing, and one of the participants was the father of Rahm Emanuel, soon to be, unfortunately, the next mayor of Chicago.
Well, I wasn't aware of all of that, but I thank you for that. And I also thank you for this radio broadcast. I thank you for all of the articles that you write to expose the underbelly of this cabal that continues to use hate and the Schofield Bible and those teachings and all of those other things that divide us Americans. And it's time for Americans to stop being divided, Wayne. We have
absolutely. We have to stand with the people in the Arab and Muslim world that are now throwing off these dictators. In Mubarak's case, he was imposed by the United States, and he had this special relationship with Israel. The game has changed, and this whole thing about the Judeo-Christian civilization fighting these heathens, these Muslims. Nobody's buying it. Anyone who has a semblance of education knows what's been going on here to divide and conquer these people around the world. And people are waking up. And thanks for your call, Helen. We have a lot of other callers waiting on the line. Let's go to Kevin, who's calling all the way from Australia.
Yeah, hi, Wayne.
Hi, Kevin.
Yeah. The lady that was just on before me, she hits the nail right on the head. And as far as the information that you present on your show, it's as accurate as what you're going to get. In fact, your presentation of what's going on, as far as I'm concerned, and I study it pretty closely, you are like 99.99% on the money.
Well, I don't get it all right, but I try to. But I wish some of these networks Yeah, I wish some of these networks would do real journalism too, but they ignore things, certain things that you don't want to report on, which is all part of the propaganda deal.
Yeah, they're commercial operations that push a particular wheelbarrow, just like the gentleman that was on prior to the lady. In other words, 2 callers ago. Now he had an agenda to get on your show and present his case. Now he sounded like a Sabbath keeping kosher person, as I am. But that's not the point. At least I'm prepared to stand up and look at truth for what it is. These little groups. Well, I say they're little groups. These Christian groups that they're expecting this great big war in the Middle East.
Oh, and absolutely. The Christian Zionists, John Hagee and his crowd. Yeah, I mean.
Oh, they love it.
Absolutely.
They just love it. And, I think a lot of those groups are based down in the Texas area. And, they can believe what they like. But when they go out of their way to, cause militaries to, go to war because of some ideological belief that they happen to believe, God is not going to pat them on the back for their error. And as far as Al-Qaeda goes, Al-Qaeda was something that was purely made up to scratch an itch. Right. And whenever I write the word Al-Qaeda, I always write L as in E-double-L-E, K as in K-A-Y, and Da as in Der. People who actually believe that are as thick as 2 bricks.
And yes, I always put Al-Qaeda in quotation marks, and I know some people refer to it as Al-CIAda, and I think that's where Robin Cook was coming from. I mean, remember, as Foreign Secretary, he was in charge of both MI6, the British Foreign Intelligence Service, and GCHQ, the British Signals Intelligence Service. I would think somebody like Cook, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but I think somebody in that position would certainly have known all about the background of this particular group.
Oh, look, of course. You know, Al-Qaeda is a fabrication. To think that, you know, half of the would-be 9/11 pilots, they're alive and well in Saudi Arabia and all you know, various other countries. And
well, right. We know that some of them said that their passports had been stolen.
Yeah, and that was the BBC. The BBC went and did an investigation, and they found all these characters still alive. Now, if these characters were flying the planes that smashed into the buildings on 9/11, how the hell can they possibly still be alive? Now, it is a complete fabrication. I mean, it all started with the Neocons, you know, in their little make America the strongest nation for the next 100 years. Look, they couldn't give two hoots about America. All they want to do is use America to further their own
absolutely.
agendas, which is...
I would say the Neocons have done more to destroy America than this mythical construct of Al-Qaeda. Look what's happened on Wall Street. Look what's happened to the U.S. economy. Look what's happened to the U.S. dollar. I mean, they have destroyed America, not Al-Qaeda. I mean, they used, as you say, they used Al-Qaeda to further their aims, their political goals, just as we've seen other groups like this used to further agendas through history. And this is just another example of it.
You know, Wayne, I'm agreeing with you there, but I'll take you up on one point. America has destroyed America, because if the American people would have concentrated on their Constitution, and they would have been watching very closely for these little groups with their little agendas, they would have known what was coming.
You're absolutely right. Anyway, thanks for calling all the way from Australia, Kevin, and we will be right back with your calls right after this short break. This is Wayne Madsen from Washington.